Name's Fola. We have our live today, this Monday, this live conversation on the juiciness of creativity. So great to have you join in live or at the recording. I'm going to be talking about a few different things today. I'm going to be checking my notes here too as we go through. We're going to be talking a lot about just what are some of the kind of concepts around creating and creativity from like a magical sort of spiritual context. I want to share a bit about too what it means to kind of be tuned into the pleasure of creativity, healing past experiences of trauma, scenarios where maybe that pleasure seeking or you were damned or shamed for that. And just a bit about just like how sex can be messy, creativity is allowed to be messy. It's allowed to be explorative. That's the point. And we'll pull some cards here from the Marina Abramovich deck for the next week as a way for you to tune into just like a deepening of your creative process. And I'm also going to kind of guide you through a meditation with one of the divine names of the Shem HaMephorash. So we'll get to all of this. It's gonna be a lot, but I think we can get it all in within the next hour. So hello, everyone. Hello, Meredith. Oh, cold. Sorry to hear that. Hope you're feeling better. I guess you're up leveling in something. Hi, Robin. Hello, hello. Hello, Roger. Hello. Hi, Nezrin. Hello. Nice to have you all here. Yeah, different time just because I have to go do some things today. So we'll see. I might be hosting these a little earlier, playing it by ear. So I'm going to keep my eye on the chat as we go through, but I just wanted to check in. How has your week been? How has your week been? What's showing up for you? What wins? What challenges? What struggles? Did you do the mirror exercise, that looking at your reflection? And if so, how did that go for you? The day I did that, I had gone for a healing as well and kind of had my ass handed to me. So I don't know, it's like a combination of all the parts. But that I enjoyed looking at the mirror. I've done that before. It's something that feels like peaceful, but for me, the hardest part is keeping my eyes open. It's like a part of me wants to close eyes and just go inside. So a lot of discipline to keep the eyes open. And besides that, enjoyed that, moving through some things this week. So let me know in the comments what's been showing up for you. But I wanted to start off with reading from a very magical text, the Bible. It says in Genesis 1, the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So we're going to talk a bit about this beginning, about God creating, and this concept of like the duality of the three, that upper supernal triad in the tree of life, those three spheres that represent like the Holy Trinity, and the power of the three in order to create. And I thought, how deep do we want this to go? But, if you want to learn more about things like the tree of life, about working with the tree, I really recommend you head to you can either join the membership or check out my Gumroad shop, the magical shop, where I have the pathworking classes, and you'll learn and have a deeper understanding of how to work with each of the energies on the tree, or these different like consciousness levels or aspects of the tree of yourself, because really the tree is a map. But this idea of the three, what does it mean for you to be creating? And I feel like the Bible starts us off with this concept of in the beginning, there needed to be like the three, God, the earth, and the sky, like this heaven and earth, this merging of two polar opposites amongst the third in order to then create something. And this is why a lot of magical schools or spiritual groups or, mystery schools, they're mystery. They're fraternities with secrets, I guess we could say, because the concept of creating goes beyond what we've been told around a lot of these ideas. And Dion Fortune talks a lot about this in her book, The Mystical Kabbalah, where she kind of like outlines that the concept of like sex is very much, it's shamed and looked poorly upon amongst the exoteric community, so like the wider range of population. But when you get into some of these esoteric schools or teachings, there becomes a new layer of understanding around sexuality and around the purpose of these different forms of force, of active force, passive force, or passive form. And really, this is kind of like what the secrets are that are shared. When we talk like sex magic and all that, it's not for everyone, because the power of creating whatever you're creating. So everyone's creating constantly. You're creating your reality with your thoughts, your beliefs. You're creating the life you experience because of whatever karmic patterns and stories, whatever intergenerational parts that maybe are looking to be healed. And you're also creating in the bigger sense of maybe you're working on writing a book, maybe you're working on, putting your music out there, or starting a business, or creating content, creating films, create whatever it might be, sharing your story. There is something happening where there's this like opportunity to be in this juicy creativity. And really what that means is like this power of your sexuality and the power of the three, the power of forces merging with each other within a certain environment or context, so that then something can be born. And in the Kabbalistic perspective, and I primarily talk about like the esoteric Kabbalah with a Q. There's the Jewish Kabbalah, which definitely goes deeper, especially into the story of creation, how everything is linked. But when we look at that top portion of the tree and we think of God, or Keter, the crown at the top, and then we look at Chokmah, the father energy of wisdom, which is the second sphere which is the sphere of force or active force. It's that like phallic energy that creates through the seed. And then it enters into the mother, into Binah, the sphere of understanding. And that sphere of like form, where we could think of it as the womb space, the place in which that seed is received, the energy is received through the inspiration from God. And then in time, right? And that's one thing maybe we could talk at one point is like, what's that time frame for creation? It takes 9 months of gestation for the baby to come through and then be born into the world, to be manifested into that fourth sphere of chesed, that sphere of manifestation. But you could perceive this experience within yourself. And this goes into time and space, because if you look at like just the three, it's almost just like this, 2D sort of object. We could say, I guess, 3D even, but in order for us to get the cube, the square, it needs to go into the fourth, which is like another component of like time and space. And then it becomes like real. It's like a cube shape. That is when the manifestations actually come through. And so the invitation for you, without making this too intellectual or heady, is to just ultimately recognize how it is that you are either receiving or not receiving these different energies in your life. Are you hyper focused on the active portion, or are you hyper focused on the passive, or in just neutral, like almost like nothingness? And then finding the balance. I've been learning through another teacher, like the need to find the balance almost like 33% within all three of those energies. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. You won't be able to bring the creations to life. So, just like a mother and father, the sperm and egg join. You also, in order to create the child, you as the creative, creator, I guess we could say, can have this merging of these feminine, masculine energies within you in order to then bring your creations. And I say these feminine, masculine energies, but it's like balancing the action and the receiving side of things in your life. Are you constantly just meditating but not taking action on the things that show up in your meditations? Or are you like just constantly working hard without pausing and just allowing space? And yeah, I think this is really important for those of you, especially feeling the call to bring things into this world. If you've been sitting with ideas of creativity and like just haven't been able to see it through, this can be a game changer. And like a huge thing, I think, are taking part in these challenges every week. Because if we think about looking at the reflection of ourselves in a mirror for an hour, motionless, sitting there, that is both in a way like active and passive within the environment of neutral. And shit will move, right? Because I don't know, like sitting still and motionless in one position in meditation, whether or not you're stepping into like some of those AA different like sitting postures for meditation, whether like on your knees or in like king's position, whatever, there's a whole wide range of them. You start to learn very quickly how hard it is to hold those positions and be in concentration. But that's the whole point. It's to build up, right? But these things can really help you with bringing your creations into reality. And this year is that year for all of us, I believe, to do this. At least make the attempt, be willing to take the steps. So this, I think I mentioned a bit about just how this can be a challenge, especially if you've come from a place of like different traumatic experiences from your past, whether it's like sexual trauma, just like physical trauma to your body, especially in that sacral space. So for women, I'm really talking about like the womb space, that root space, anywhere where that like Kundalini energy, which is really like a creative energy, right? That sexual energy is seated, and it can bring a lot up. And I think that's why we create some like walls or barriers to exploring this concept of the three, because it's just easier to like continually stuff it down and not have the things come up. For me this week, it's been a lot of that after this healing process I went through that really like just shook me to the core, where it brought things up from my past that I was like, oh my gosh, I clearly am still like moving through some of this stuff. Or there was parts that wanted to be just like made known and finally just like, oh, actually, you know what? I am safe and I don't have to retell those stories or experience similar scenarios with the people that I care about and that care about me. But this is really important, I think, because sometimes when we step into creativity, all this stuff can show up. And I was just telling like my friend this morning, we met up, and I'm like, yeah, it amazes me every time going into the studio to record certain songs. Certain songs have certain healing properties or elements to them, certain themes that I find show up. We have one particular song, it's like either of us, when we've gone to work on it, it's like the worthiness and the shame and all this stuff starts to like bubble up. And it gets to the point where sometimes then if we're not aware of that, we can actually like decide, oh, I don't want to do it. We subconsciously avoid it or consciously avoid it. And that's not the ideal. So we have to be willing to recognize what our past is, what's showing up, and then make, the necessary steps. Hi, Robin. Hello. Yeah, earlier time today. So this place in which you are connected to spirit, this womb space, the belly button space. If you think about it, that's how you were linked to your mother, the umbilical cord. In some of the like Toltec shamanic teachings that I received, it was around this idea that that umbilical cord, like navel, also links us to energetic cords back to where we all kind of come from. I believe they call it like the Hunab Ku. And this idea of our attachment to the like main creator, even though you don't see the cords necessarily, well, you might see them because they're energetic, but there is a link between us and spirit. And you can simply just imagine and reconnect that energy so that you can reconnect to that creative force, that creative source of all existence. And another great way, I mean, we're talking about sexual sort of creative juices, is to be aware, and this was a huge learning for me this week, is how much am I willing to receive pleasure? How much am I willing to actually allow pleasure to guide me, to be open to it in all its different forms? So I ask you, how much are you willing to receive or not, right? Because that's a huge part. That's such a huge part. And for many of us, we like, especially if you come from like traumatic sexual trauma past or whatever the case might be, abusive relationships, toxic relationships, to be willing to receive can be really challenging. But just like that mother of Bina, that third sphere on the tree of life, if she is not willing to receive from the father, that force, then how would there be anything being born? There just can't be. So I invite you to follow your intuition, take the steps for your healing, whatever that needs to be for you. I can't remember what name we're choosing here. I think the name today may actually support with that. There's some other names I'm going to be sharing over the next week of the Shemhamafarash from my book here that I think can just help support you on that. But just really recognizing and asking, am I willing to receive more here? How can I receive more? What am I not allowing myself to receive? And just see what the universe shows you. Because when you ask, you will receive. And so to the last kind of point, before we get into the card pull, before we get into that meditation with the divine name, is just the concept of like sex as messy, and learning and creativity is all kind of tied to that. And it can be messy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Think back to like the first time you had intercourse or had some type of intimate encounter with someone, or even with yourself, how it might have felt really messy and like not certain, and you are learning and exploring. And I found this quote in a magazine and I've stuck it here. I'm going to read it to you. The title is like Finishing the First Draft. And this person writes about specifically screenwriting, but it's like, just write badly. Prove you're a bad writer, bad creator, bad artist, bad whatever. You're stuck because you want to write well. Write badly to get all the junk out of your system, then look back at how bad you are through the lens of a petty critic and make progress towards a better version of your story. At the very least, it can't get any worse. I needed to hear that because I oftentimes get caught up in this, like, needing it to be perfect, needing it to be right, what I'm writing, you know, working on this next book. It's just like, and then I don't take any action. It leads to inaction, that need for perfection. Whereas it's more about like just learning about the self. Learning, for me right now, it's learning about how do I write? What's like the best environment for me to write? What like gets my creative juices flowing or not? All of this stuff, it's like a partnership that's happening, this like intimate engagement with this creative project and with spirit, again, the three. So within this, you is kind of like that principle that's in there. You are like this element that's shifting and changing. Your shadow is coming up. You're learning things about yourself. You're evolving. You're transforming. And that's really like the purpose. Sure, the end product is great. It's nice to have that final book or that final song written, or that course put out there, whatever. But ultimately, it's about the process you've gone through to create it, and it's a learning. And I just want to say thank you, Spirit, for all these words, because I had no idea where they would all come from. Hi, Motaz. 2 a.m. is crazy. Thanks for being here. So we're going to pull a card here for the collective, for all of us. For this week, our kind of like challenge card. If you feel called to do it, I encourage you, because like I said, if you're creative, if you're feeling like you just need a bit of like a shift in your energy to take steps forward for whatever the next step that Spirit has for you, these cards are going to help you do that. These practices really do move energy. So we'll pull that, give us the card that's worked best for us. But if you have not subscribed and you'd like to, I do these conversations every Monday. And there's other good stuff that shows up on the channel here. February 2nd, I'm going to be hosting a 5-day creative flow kind of like challenge for all of you. If you would like to take part, you're going to want to keep track, join in. And I've got lots of fun things in the description that you can check out. Maybe if you want to book like personal readings or healings, or check out some of my courses and also some of my rituals and things that I share. Some are free, some are paid. You can do that. What is good morning? Still 4 hours. Yeah, good point. I'm in Canada. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, this is kind of fun. I've never pulled this one. Look at that cool card. This one actually just says create and complete a personal instruction. So it's like blank. It's blank for us to just make up. And what I'm feeling with this, I'm thinking of Gurujev, who's like a teacher. My understanding is what he would tell some of his students is like, just go and do something that's like completely out of the norm for you. An example that I had read or heard about from someone was to say, he would tell like a student, go into a coffee shop and like kind of like make a scene, like make a huge disruption where you like spill your drink all over and you're just like, oh my God. Like, maybe you act not embarrassed, but you act just like really anxious and chaotic, not causing disruption where you harm yourself or others, but like to do something where it's completely out of the norm for you. Like you kind of look like an idiot. Isn't that like the purpose of the dunce hat? But notice how like she's holding the dunce hat in her hand as well. It's almost like, who is she going to put that on? She's got a hat on herself. She's going to put it on someone else. So the purpose of the exercise of doing something out of the norm and like out of your comfort zone, which all these cards really are, but this particular practice, like in public, is to make you break through like those social bonds that kind of hold you back from being your true self. And it's a learning. You will touch on like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. I'm so like contained within the box of society. I can't break out of that. So inviting you this week, I'm going to place this card here and you can share as next week when we meet again or throughout the week on some of the posts. What is it that you're doing? I think there's like a community thing. If you want to join the Telegram chat for the Alchemy Collective, you can do that. That link's below too. And you can share what it is that you're working on, what you choose to do as your little practice for the week. Something that pushes you beyond your comfort zone. But now let's go into the Divine Name Meditation. So this is from my book, The 72 Names of God, A Magical Grimoire. I just want to say thanks to all of you who have supported purchasing the book, been engaging in this work, because this really has been quite transformative for me. Just writing this whole thing was quite a learning. Can I do it? How do you put ideas down? How do you format pages? Oh my God, so many things. But if you would like to get a copy of this and work through the 72 names, you can do so. But today, I think the link's in the description too. Today, we're going to look at number 71. Hey Yod Yod is the name. Hai. So just a little bit about this name. It helps you to release any habits that might hinder you financially. And it also aligns you with the high vibrational essence of spirit. So when you are in a place of receiving from spirit, say receiving guidance, receiving that energy, that love, then the doors start to open. Another reason I was really called to this is because this name in particular can help you to like connect to the secret chiefs, the ascended masters, these like divine spirit guides for the guidance on the next steps for yourself. So if you're feeling again like stuck, you're not sure what steps to take, where you're going, or what's happening in your world, then this name, Hey Yod Yod, I'll just show you the sigil here. This is going to help shift that energy. So seeing the letters Hey Yod Yod, this is linked to the Psalm number 109, verse 20. This is the recompense of my adversaries from the Lord, and those who speak evil upon my soul. And I love how this is almost at the end. This is like the second last name of all 72 names, and it's tied to the 10 of Cups, the Lord of perfected success. What else can I share about this? I think that's all I need to say. This is going to help you manifest, take your next step. So what we're going to do here, you can have eyes opened or closed. And just begin to become aware of your breath, of your body. Allowing each inhale and exhale to really relax you and bring you into a place of presence here. Letting go of anything that you've told yourself you needed to be or needed to do right now, that you get to show up exactly as you are. And that is enough here in this moment. And let's take 3 cleansing breaths together here. So beginning on an empty breath, inhaling, pausing at the top, and then exhaling. Inhaling, pause, and exhale. And last breath in, inhale. And hold it in for letting it all go on the exhale. Letting your breath return to normal as we call upon the divine name to transform anything that needs to be looked at, brought to our awareness, to guide us to the next phase of our life, for guidance on that next step. Hey Yod Yod. 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 Hai, hai, hai. Hai. This is the recompense of my adversaries from the Lord, and those who speak evil upon my soul. I'm taking a deep breath in, letting it go as you notice your body, noticing your breath, any sensations, sounds, any smells. Whenever you're ready, just returning to the space with open eyes, being here now. So let that name take you where it needs to. You can journal now on whatever showed up. Return to that name as you would like. As I mentioned, if you'd like to get a copy of the book, there is a link in the description. It's called The 72 Names of God, a Magical Grimoire by yours truly. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Next week, Monday, I guess, for another live. So thanks for being here, everyone. Ooh, actually, and before I go, I wanted to share one more thing. The lovely Nesrin, I don't know if she's here, if she can hear me, but she has started Anatolian Mystics, and she has a YouTube channel. She's also on Instagram. And I wanted to share that here because I'm kind of hoping and we're planning to be able to host some retreats in Turkey. Yeah, it's going to be fun, you guys. So, okay, here it is. I found your page. I'm just going to share it in the comments. If you feel called to go and support a fellow mystic, learner, student, teacher, healer. Nesrin's such a powerful healer. Let me pin this. You can find her page there. Go and follow, go tune in, and maybe we'll even see you at one of the retreats coming up. Anyways, okay. Thanks, everyone. Take care.